Have you ever stopped for just a second and thought about how everything you know, everything you love, can change in just one moment? We all kind of walk around believing that life will go on the way it always has. That tomorrow will come. That the people we love will still be there when we wake up. But sometimes, life doesn't work like that. Sometimes it only takes a second, a single second, to tear your whole world apart. That's exactly what happened to John Lennon. And his story, it's not just the story of a musician, or a Beatle, or a legend. It's also the story of a young man who lost someone he loved more than words can say, and carried that pain in his heart forever. I want you to really imagine it. Picture being a teenager. Still finding your way. Feeling lost more often than not. And the one person who sees you, who really gets you, is your mother. She's your safe place. She's not perfect, maybe she hasn't always been there for you the way you needed, but when she smiles at you, you know you're loved. That's who Julia was to John. She wasn't the mother who raised him. That was his Aunt Mimi. Mimi was strict, no nonsense, a bit cold at times. She kept him fed, clothed, disciplined. But Julia brought color into his world. She was fun. She was wild. She had this sparkle in her that drew people in. She'd show up and take John on little adventures. She taught him to play the banjo. She sang silly songs with him. She made him feel like he belonged somewhere, even if just for a little while. He loved her. Deeply. Even though he didn't always get to see her. Even though she wasn't always as steady as he wished she could be. In her presence, he felt alive. Understood. And more than anything, he craved her approval. On July 15th, all of that ended. It was a quiet day in Liverpool. The kind of day you wouldn't think anything tragic could happen. Julia was walking to see John. She was crossing the street near Mimi's house, the same house John grew up in. And then, out of nowhere, a car came speeding down the road. Driven by an off-duty police officer. He didn't see her. Or maybe he just couldn't stop in time. The car hit her. She was gone before she even reached the hospital. John was crushed. He couldn't even fully process it at first. It didn't feel real. The shock, the disbelief, it washed over him in waves. And then came the grief. The kind of grief that makes it hard to breathe. That sits in your chest like a stone. He'd already lost her once, as a child, when she gave him up to Mimi. But this time, there would be no second chance. No way to ever tell her everything he wished he'd said. That pain shaped him. It hardened some parts of him, but it also made others soft. He started carrying anger he didn't know what to do with. Anger at the man who hit her, a man who faced no consequences, no punishment. Anger at the world, for being so unfair. And anger at himself, for not having more time with her. For not being able to save her. Years later, he would pour all of that into his music. Into his voice. You can hear it in Mother. If you've never really listened to the lyrics before, go back and hear them again. Mother, you had me, but I never had you, he's crying out to her. Begging her, in some way, to still hear him. To still love him. That song is his pain, raw and unfiltered, turned into melody. And that wasn't the only time she showed up in his art. She was everywhere, if you knew where to look. His music always had this undercurrent of longing. Of fear of abandonment. Of wanting to hold on to the people he loved before they slipped through his fingers again. That fear stayed with him. Even when he became famous. Even when the whole world screamed his name. He never stopped being that boy who lost his mother too soon. Later, with Yoko Ono, you could see how deeply he clung to her. He loved her fiercely, sometimes obsessively. Because he'd already learned what it felt like to lose the one person who made you feel whole. He didn't want to feel that again. And when his son, Sean, was born, John made a vow to himself, he was going to be the kind of parent who was there. Always. No matter what. Because he knew what it was like to grow up feeling like you didn't fully belong to anyone. The tragedy also fueled his creativity. Grief has a strange way of doing that sometimes. It cracks you open, and from those cracks, something beautiful can grow. For John, that grief gave him a voice the whole world could feel. But that doesn't mean it stopped hurting. He once admitted that even as an adult, he'd dream of her sometimes. She'd visit him in his sleep, and he'd wake up feeling like a child again, wishing she was still alive. Wishing he could just sit with her and talk, even for a moment. And there's something else about that day that added to his pain, the fact that the man who hit her never faced justice. That man walked away without so much as a fine. Can you imagine what that does to a young man already drowning in grief? That sense of injustice burned inside him. It made him cynical about the world. Yet at the same time, it also taught him to live fully. To love fiercely. Because he knew better than anyone that tomorrow isn't promised. That's why so many of his songs are about love. Why he talked so often about peace. Why he said over and over again that love is the answer. He believed it. Because when you've lost someone the way he did, you realize that nothing else really matters. Not fame. Not money. Not even success. All that matters is the people you love and the time you get to spend with them. So let me ask you something. Who is your Julia? Who's that person you love but maybe haven't told enough? Maybe you've been meaning to call them. Or hug them. Or just tell them you care. Don't wait. Call them. Hug them. Tell them. Because John's story reminds us that regret is heavier than grief. That the words left unsaid can haunt you longer than anything else. And if you've ever felt the kind of grief he felt, if you've ever lost someone you loved, then you know what I mean when I say that it never really goes away. You just learn to live around it. You carry it with you. And maybe, just maybe, you use it to love the people you still have even harder. So here's what I want you to do. Right now. Close your eyes for a second and think of that one person. The one who means the world to you. And promise yourself, really promise, that you won't let another day go by without letting them know. And when you're ready, I'd love for you to share your story. What's one thing you wish you'd said to someone you lost? Or one thing you're going to make sure you do say to someone you still have? Leave it in the comments. I'll be reading them, and I promise you, you're not alone. If this story about John Lennon touched you, there's another video waiting for you here on this channel, about how his grief and heartbreak shaped some of his most iconic songs. I think you'll really feel it. And if you enjoyed this, if it helped you feel a little less alone, please, go ahead and tap that like button. It helps more than you know. Subscribe to the channel if you want more stories about the real, human side of the legends we all admire. And don't forget to ring that little bell so you don't miss the next one. Before you go, I just want to leave you with this thought. Life is short. Love the people you love while you still can. Hug them tight. Tell them how much they mean to you. Because love really is the answer. And deep down, you already know that. Thank you for watching. And thank you for feeling this story with me. I'll see you next time.